Hey campers, this is Darcy Demoss from Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Part 6, and you're listening to the amazing podcast, Don't Go Out There. And I should know because I did.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin. And they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all support. Super excited for this upcoming interview. We are joined yet again by another legend of the business, known for her roles in Labor Pains, Cant Buy Me Love, Sharknado, and of course the legendary Nikki from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Miss Darcy Demoss, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm thrilled.
We're beyond thrilled. We're super excited for this. We like to start all of our interviews with, can you tell us what it is that got you into acting? You were a dancer as a child, correct?
I was. I started off dancing and I studied acting at the same time. And I danced in a number of films. And then I was going to college and I booked my first job in hard bodies. And I went to my father and said, well, you can pay for me to learn or I can get paid. So I quit college and started working in films.
So you were fresh off of Hard Bodies and a few other stints in 1984. And not a lot of people know that you actually had a cameo in Friday the 13th, Part 4 on the aerobics video Axel is watching in the coroner's office. Now, can you tell us how that came about? Did you have any idea they were going to use that in the final chapter?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen the film, so I'm not sure if it's me or if it's Deborah and Linnea. I think her name was Linnea. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I thought it was me. It's aerobicize. It's the aerobicize video, and I was the aerobicize girl in the 80s in the red leotard and the white leotard. But I think there might be 3 girls in that video. So I don't know. But that was a Ron Harris production, and Ron Harris was able to do whatever he wanted with that. And I know that he put my aerobicize in Grumpy Old Men. And, oh gosh, it was a film with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. I can't think of the name of it. But that was also, my aerobicize was also in that film. In fact, Eddie Murphy said, what the hell is that? TV's changed in 3 years because he was in prison in the film. And I can't remember the name of the film. But so I don't know. I'm not sure if that's me or not.
Well, it's pretty cool, at least to us, that you were actually in what was widely considered the best 2 Friday films in the franchise.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I actually auditioned for Part 5 and I got the role. And the director had asked me to dinner at the wardrobe fitting, and I hadn't even read the script yet. I was just handed the script, and it just happened to be Halloween. So he said, oh, I think we should discuss the script over dinner. And I said, well, I haven't read the script yet, and I have plans this evening. So the next day I didn't have a job, and I had already signed the contract. And the director said that I wasn't well enough endowed, and he got another actress to do the part. And they brought me in for Part 6, and they said, pretend like you've never met Frank Mancuso Jr. before. So I walked in and, hi, as if I've never met him before. They didn't want to remind him that he had to pay me for which wasn't my fault. It was actually, the director was inappropriate. So with that said, I got paid for Part 5. I got paid for Part 6 that I was in, and then they used a clip of my death in Part 7. So there's actually 3 of them.
That's awesome. Dustin here, like Nico had mentioned to you before we started rolling tonight, Friday the 13th Part 6 is my favorite. It's not just my favorite entry in the franchise. It's actually my favorite horror movie altogether. So it's a huge honor. But
Thank you.
You kind of touched on it. Absolutely. You kind of touched on it there. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you come to get the role of Nikki in Part 6?
Well, I went and read for it, and Tom McLaughlin hired me. It's usually director's choice at the end. So So I think I had maybe one or two, maybe two or three auditions. Honestly, I can't quite remember. It's been a couple of minutes since that we shot that. So with that said, Tom, I lucked out, and the universe works in mysterious ways. So I feel incredibly blessed because I'm still doing all these cons, these horror cons with my castmates. And it's like, a school reunion, and we have so much fun. And, I just did a photo shoot not too long ago, and Tom McLaughlin came over and shot some photos with me, and we had a blast.
That's awesome. So speaking of your co-stars of that film, we had CJ Graham on and in a previous interview, and he talked about how his big stunt in the Winnebago, how they shot that one last, obviously because of the dangers involved. Now, were your scenes that were shot inside the Winnebago, were they also shot towards the end, or was that in a different part of the timeline?
I think the reason why it was shot last is because they totaled the Winnebago. They used it for the stunt. So that's why it was shot last, because if they needed to do any other scenes in the Winnebago, they had it until the very end. So I'm pretty sure that I was in the middle. And, we did a whole night of fight, CJ and I, in that bathroom. And that bathroom had walls that kept coming out. And then the camera, was also above us. So, we were, he was afraid of hurting me. And I was like, let's just go for it and make it look as realistic as possible. And, he literally had to put my head in his hands to shove me through the mirror, without actually, shoving my nose in the mirror. So, which actually really kind of went into, there was one shot of my face going into the mirror, and there's another shot of my face going into the camera. So, I mean, I wore my bruises like badges of honor when I was done. I was so proud.
Absolutely. So, speaking of that scene, the rumor and innuendo would say that you and Tom Fridley were dancing to different music than what was in the final cut of the film. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, Tom, our director, said choose whichever music you want, and I chose a Prince song. So that's why we're not really moving to the music completely on beat. So if you watch it, it's kind of funny.
Well, I gotta ask, do you remember which Prince song it was?
Not sure. Extra Time in Your Kiss. Whatever the name of that song is.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think Julia Roberts sang to it in a bathtub in Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Oh, Prince. I also love your death scene in that movie. It's my favorite kill in the movie. I'm sorry that you were killed, Miss Darcy, but it is my favorite kill in the movie.
Who says I was killed? Did you see me dead?
Ooh.
True. That's not right of me to assume that, but
so you're assuming that I'm dead, but
yeah,
you never saw
I did. You got me. You got me on that one.
That's why I was able to come back as Nikki in Vengeance 2 Bloodlines.
Ooh, okay. It's a good little sneak peek. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Moss, we want to shift gears a little bit from Friday the 13th. Obviously, one of your most famous roles was as Patty in Can't Buy Me Love.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little about working on that film and with Mr. Patrick Dempsey?
Well, Patrick was great, obviously. It was a complete gentleman. And, I became lifelong friends with some of the castmates. My dear little sweet pea, Amanda Peterson, passed away about 5 years ago, unfortunately. She was my best friend for many, many years. In fact, when I got the film, I was 23, and Tina and Amanda were both 15. So there was a bit of an age difference. So Amanda, was from Greeley, Colorado, and she was here in Los Angeles, acting. And so I was her guardian for about 8 months. So she lived with my boyfriend and myself, and then she ended up getting emancipated, and then she rented my apartment from me because I lived at the beach, and then I was living with a boyfriend, so I was paying for rent, for an empty space. So and I'm really good friends still with Court McCowan, and I see. Oh my God, I speak to Gerardo frequently, and I can't remember the redhead's name, and this is so embarrassing.
Courtney
Here's
Gaines?
this. My apologies. Courtney Gaines. Thank you. Courtney and
Yeah,
I see each other frequently at the cons, and and I think we're doing a Cant Buy Me Love little reunion. I think what's going to be in Chiller this year. And of course, how could I leave out Amy Dolan's is one of my dearest friends as well. She's living in Vancouver right now with her husband. She played Fran.
So you have credits spanning all sorts of genres, sci-fi, horror, pretty much everything. What's your favorite genre that you like to work on?
I like comedy. Comedy is actually my favorite. I like to laugh. So with that said, when I got to work with my childhood best friend Helen Hunt on Mad About You, it was really amazing. I had to go in an audition, and I walked into a room with about 18 people, and Helen called me and she said, "I have an audition for you. I can't guarantee you the job. You have to audition, but and then she called me to say, "Congratulations, Darcy, you got it." So that was really neat, and we had a lot of fun. Live camera, all those cameras and a live audience, and people are laughing. What's better than that? But horror comes in second because there's so much involved with horror that I don't think the fans really realize that it's not easy to make those stunts and those deaths. They don't come easily.
Sounds good. Okay, so during quarantine, during 2020, you release, and if I mispronounce this, I'm sorry, the Onania Club and Clown Fear. Can you tell us a little bit about those projects?
I had scenes with Courtney Akbar, who was terrific, and we really bonded and had a lot of fun. And I'm good friends with her husband, who was one of the producers, Asif Akbar. So I felt really blessed to be able to go to work, and that was right before quarantine. And the Onania Club, it's just ridiculous that they're having a hard time getting distribution. And that's the director from the Human Centipede series, Tom Six, who is an incredible director. And the Onania Club is so good. I'm so proud of it. And we just can't get distribution because it's politically incorrect. So this is art, and it just doesn't make any sense that a movie can't be seen this good and this awesome with with what's happening in our world. Art is art, and it just should really be released. So if anybody out there wants to call Tom Six and distribute this film, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had Jessica Morris on the show as well, and she talked a little bit about those same issues. So hopefully that gets ironed out soon.
I sure hope so.
So yeah, absolutely. So you kind of touched on it earlier. I want to circle back around to something you mentioned. You're going to be involved in the next Friday the 13th Vengeance 2 Bloodlines. Now,
yes,
I'm really
and CJ Graham's wife is my best friend in it, Ruby.
That's awesome.
Ruby Graham. Yeah, this is her acting debut. She was fabulous in it.
So these movies with the Vengeance series and Never Hike Alone, I'm really hesitant to call them fan films because they're so well done and they're able to keep the franchise going. Tell us a little bit more about it. You're reviving Nikki, being reunited with Tom McLaughlin and CJ Graham. Tell us as much as you can.
That's about it, folks. You got to stay tuned and watch the movie. We're hoping it's going to be out. I believe it's May 13th, Friday the 13th in May. Does that make sense?
How appropriate.
Yes. Here's hoping. But my listeners
definitely looking forward to that one.
Pardon me?
Oh, I was just saying I'm definitely looking forward to it. The Never Hike series are fantastic fan films. Like, if you even want to call them that, they're so well made. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and CJ Graham back on the big screen again.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fun.
Ms. Demoss, our last question we like to ask is a fun one. So dig deep in your memory for this one. We started asking this question a couple years ago when we had Lisa Wilcox on. We've heard some very interesting stories, to say the least, and some very heartfelt stories. But what's the most memorable or the strangest interaction with a fan that you've ever had at a convention?
I think I had a fan that was sending me videos and messages on Facebook and Instagram, came to my table and couldn't speak. He was so bashful. And he has a tattoo on his back of my face.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And Lisa Wilcox and I did a film together called Give Me an F. We were both cheerleaders in it.
Oh,
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah, Give Me an F. And we both are represented by Chris Majors, the amazing Chris Majors, my agent, and hers.
We had Lisa on, and she's just like you, just really fun to talk to. But like I've had a great time talking to you tonight. Ms. Demoss, are there any other projects you have? Or what else would you like to talk about or plug? Maybe social media. Where can the fans follow you?
Oh, that would be great. Come and see me on Instagram. It's Darcy Demoss 19, DarcyDemoss 19. Darcy Demoss 19 on Instagram. Follow me. I have a bunch of horror cons coming up. I'm going to be in Pennsylvania March 5th and 6th of this year, and I think I'm going to be in Chiller this year. And there's a couple more, but I don't have my plugs in front of me. Sorry about that.
Ms. Darcy, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You were terrific. Thank you guys. Have a great evening. Really appreciate it.
thank you.
Cheers.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Just want to remind everybody.
Don't go out